Dashy has just leaked that Drazah will in fact be on Optic. Well, we'll talk about it. Scump and Methodz were also discussing on stream that they were basically going to be 3 or 4 teams that were going to be forming, and they were going to be complete all-star lineups, even referring to them as God Squads. Like that's not a term you throw around, so expect 3 or 4 teams. Spoiler, maybe probably Faze, maybe probably Optic.
I think the way rostermania is going right now, I think like the top 3-4 teams, obviously New York's not going to change. I think like the top 3-4 teams are going to just be super teams, and then it's going to be like, it's going to be kind of weird because I feel like we're going to see some players from some of the top rated teams, I guess, start falling into like that 6th through 8th team place.
Methodz also goes on to say that
the thing with rostermania is certain players will only become available once in a blue moon, and this is the first time we're seeing players on Thieves becoming unrestricted, players on Seattle becoming unrestricted. So let's just talk bluntly about some of the options.
Yeah, so
right?
this rostermania is really different, I feel like.
Like you have actual serious players on the market, and you also have to think of it in the way of you can't let other teams form super teams. So not only are you thinking about building your own good team,
also to prevent from other God squads being formed, right? And we'll go into it. We'll try to discuss, we'll try to break down and find out who those 3-4 squads that Scump was talking about, who they could be and what organization will they play under and everything like that. Let's break it down. We'll put on our detective hat or something and figure it out. As well as let's just look in detail a little bit into all the free agents, because there is a lot. Guys, a lot of squad wipes, a lot of free agents were just announced because of the deadline that happened last night. And I'll show you a list of everyone and we'll get into it. But one of the biggest free agents that has been not confirmed, but not, basically Slasher. Slasher's all but confirmed dropped. Now he has been inactive. He hasn't said anything. Faze they haven't said anything, but basically everyone, all the insiders are coming out saying that this is happening. Slasher is going to be a free agent and Faze is going to be looking for one more to add to their all-star lineup. Now, let's talk about this Dashy thing. Okay, I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. And I'm going to play this clip for you, but in TJ Haley's stream, he was basically heard in the background making a call or answering a call or talking to someone, and he says something in the lines of, "Hey, Drazah." Maybe he was answering the phone, talking to Drazah, saying, "Hey." I don't know. Let me show you the audio first, because I want to know what you guys think about it. Because honestly, you could just say it's nothing. You could say I didn't even hear anything, and I will show you like an enhanced audio version. So hopefully you guys could listen to that good. And let me know your opinions, because people on this Reddit thread were going crazy.
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
In my honest opinion, it kind of sounds like it, but it kind of doesn't. Now, people are crazy on Reddit, and they're literally detectives, and they figure out every single little thing. So I'm not going to doubt them, but I'm also not going to be all in on it. He could also just be answering a call or just saying, "Hey, Draz," maybe just like, "What's up, bro? How you been?" Checking up on his boy. I don't know. All right, I'm going to try to speedrun this, but everything that's happened the last 2 days that involves off-season changes, this is what occurred, right? So Rokkr squad wipes. Boston Breach releases Awakening, Vivid, and Nero. And then report New York has offered Kismet a contract. Don't know the money, don't know the details, but it should be pretty hefty. Anyways, Toronto Ultra officially released Hicksy, Optic released Ghosty and Huke, Mutineers squad wipe except for Vickle, and then Standy announces he's a free agent. I think Clayster announced he was a free agent. LAG basically squad wipes, not Assault. Arcitys is staying on the roster. And of course, the reports are that Slasher is in fact a free agent, but it would be in his benefit to tweet out unrestricted, right? But he hasn't, and Faze hasn't said anything. So it's still a report. Take it with a grain of salt. And also, let me show you the CDL Intel's tweet, where it basically just shows you everyone that's tied to a team for now, and the list is very, very small. But I do want to get into this and discuss the God squads that are potentially going to be formed. Now let's take a look at this list, right, of all the free agents. And as you can see, there is a lot. I highlighted in green the ones that are kind of bigger names, or at least have made more noise in the scene. But let me actually just separate all these free agents, and of course there's more, right? There's a lot more, but these were at least starters that were in the league at some point last year. Let's start by defining God Squad, because guys, that doesn't mean good players. It doesn't mean above average players. It means literally the best of the best. It means amazing superstar, could be in the MVP voting type of players, right? Like Faze, they have 3 of them. It's like a Shotzzy, like a Dashy, like these straight up, like they could win you a map single-handedly caliber type of players. That's how insane they're gassing up these teams to be. Now let's go through the rosters that already have confirmed players on their squad. Let's start with Boston Breach, right? Beans just isn't that. He isn't that player. Kremp has potential. He's really good, but he's obviously not that. Now, let me, as side note, Snoopy is not in the guaranteed for the next season. So maybe he only got a 10-day contract from Boston Breach. So look out for that. Snoopy potentially a super underrated player on this unrestricted free agent market that no one's really talking about. But looking at this, he should be an unrestricted free agent. Now let's move on. Florida Mutineers, soon to be Miami. Vickle, really good player. However, I don't think he fits into the absolute superstar roster, right? LEG. Now they have Spar. He's probably going to be in the substitute roster again. I don't know what's going on there. But Arcitys, do you really think Arcitys is a top tier player still? Maybe there's an argument. So let's go ahead and keep LAG in the back of our minds. But let's kind of rule them out for now. Now, New York subliners, they're missing half the roster. However, let's be honest, they're probably running it back. Optic Texas, I said it earlier, they're probably in the running. If we scroll down a little bit, Faze is probably in the running. And then there's Toronto Ultra, which is a very big question mark. Now, what the heck is going on there? Because they probably keeping Scrappy, but are they actually going to sell CleanX? Are they actually going to sell Insight? Because the rotation threw us all for a loop and just tweeted out, by the way, the Ultra changes are just management changes. They're not actually about money. So I don't know what is going on in that Ultra roster, but that is crazy. They let Hicksy go. He's unrestricted free agent. Then they say, we don't want CleanX. We don't want Insight. They're available. Come buy them. But if it's not about the money, that means at the end of the day, they could stay. Then the rotation says that the Toronto Ultra's annual shareholding meetings are tomorrow. So maybe they'll clear the air up a little bit. Maybe they'll decide whether they're going to spend more money or not. But apparently it's not a financial issue. Apparently it's just management. Who knows? So let me explain this list really quickly. These are all the players that I could think basically could take over a map, that could win you a map by themselves, that qualify onto a God Squad roster, right? Octane's self-explanatory. One of the best ARs, at least last year. He's comms probably the top 1% in the whole world, right? World champion last year. Envoy, same thing, world champion. And these are self-explanatory a little bit, so that's why I'm not going to try to spiel too much. But Envoy, again, take routes. This we got to do. One of the most selfless players out there. It's Pred. Do I even got to talk about it? Drazah, one of the most annoying kills, one of the most mechanical abusive people besides Cellium. Like, you know, he's a really good player. Sib, absolute takeover times. But again, I don't know. I mean, people compare every time people talked about Seattle, it was Sib and Pred. So I wanted to add him here, and he's a beast. Let's be honest, he could take over. So I added him to the list. Now, next, we got the Toronto boys that are kind of superstars, but we don't know what's going to happen to him. CleanX, if he's available, probably the best aggressive SMG in the market, best entry SMG in the market right now. Scrappy. Again, people are saying they're still thinking that he's available. Maybe if someone throws enough money Toronto's way, he'll be available, but who knows? So I just wanted to add him in here, just kind of to not throw that option out the window since they're selling players, right? And Insight, he's also, last year was kind of quiet, pretty quiet, but the first 2 years that he was in the league, he was an absolute unit. He was doing so good. He was super gross, always dropping these crazy numbers, really nasty at search. Now, let me explain to you these 3 that are in the red: Slasher, Kenny, Kismet. Kismet's self-explanatory. I think he's staying in the New York subliner, so I didn't want to add him into the list. Kenny has just had a pretty bad year, and honestly, his stock is like in an all-time low. I feel like no one's really thinking of him in a God Squad right now. Again, he could potentially be there, but I don't know. I'm rooting it out. And this Slasher, I do think really highly of this guy. Super good S&D player, but I mean, if Faze is dropping him, I feel like I don't think he's going to go into like a superstar, like a God Squad right after Faze. If Faze is the ones dropping him, right? Like, but I can kind of see him in here. That's why I kind of added him to the list, but kind of left him red. Whatever. Okay, let's start off with Faze, guys. Okay, dude, shout out to GG Breaking Point because, geez, man, 2023 Breaking Point roster builder out here. And this is really cool. So basically, just check the team, whatever. We're starting with Faze. So we got Simp, Cellium, aBeZy already on the team. And it gives you team statistics. So that's going to be pretty cool. But let's look at the list really quickly. Now, Octane is the most obvious answer. Let me see if I can find him really quickly. But Octane would be the most obvious answer here because he's the main AR. That's what they need, right? However, would they really drop Slasher for Octane? I just don't think that's. I just don't think they would. I really don't. So let's take Octane here. And honestly, who would fit here? Because Envoy would be a good player. Like, he would do really good things in the squad. And honestly, let's be real here. If my dad goes and plays on this roster that doesn't know English, they can't even hold a controller. Like, if he goes on this roster, they're probably still winning an event. Like, they're just gods, right? So anyone I put in here, they're going to be really good with. So let's be real here. Envoy, I think, would make this team, obviously, it's going to be good. But I don't think he would be the answer to their problems. Now let's talk Pred. If you look at these names, Pred, Cellium, aBeZy, and Simp, like, that screams God Squad. That just screams God Squad to you. I just don't think they would do it. I really don't think they would do it. They would have to pay him the bag, by the way. Atlanta's going to have to pay so much money to make this roster work if they do get him. So I have a choice in mind, and he's not going to be as expensive as a Pred would be. But I think he would fit really well with these guys. Now let's give an honorable mention to Drazah, because I do believe Drazah would be a really, really good player. One of the reasons I do like this roster is because they have, I mean, their natural roles, right? Drazah on a flex, Cellium in AR, Simp and aBeZy on the subs. That just makes sense. And Drazah, again, he's one of the most annoying players, kind of like a mini Cellium. And having them in the same roster would be ridiculous. Of course, we have Drazah beef with Faze boys, so I don't see that happening. However, I mean, would they lay down their swords to make a super God Squad? That would be a God Squad. Let's be honest here. Okay, Scrappy, honorable mention, that would be a God Squad. Okay, that would be ridiculous. Okay, let's not beat around the bush. We are beating around the bush because any of these players that I add from this list are going to be ridiculous on here. So let's go ahead and give you guys my choice. And this just makes sense for me personally. Now, I don't know what you guys think about this, but this might be a little faded. Sib. I would love to see Sib here. Why? Because first of all, that's Sib's natural role. He's a flex. That way Simp and aBeZy can stay as a sub duo. They are one of the best, if not the best sub duo ever to play the game. Cellium on the main AR. Now, why do I like this? Because Sib's a more aggressive AR. Now, Cellium's more of a laid back AR, and Sib could help push out a little bit more and open up the map for these guys. Now, I will say that Sib was a little inconsistent in Seattle roster, but that Seattle roster was also everywhere almost. So I'm gonna say that Sib is not gonna require that big of a bag either. I feel like they could get him for relatively cheap. And another big point I want to make is that Sib was their substitute player on what, MW 2019, I believe, or maybe Cold War. It was Cold War, I believe. He was their substitute player, and guys, I think they obviously have a connection there. So if they do pick him up, I feel like this is a good roster. If I told you Cellium, Sib, Simp, and aBeZy were teaming up, I do believe that more people would be like, yo, that team is nasty than if you add Slasher for Sib here. Especially because Cellium's, I just don't know how he is as a main AR, but if you put Sib with Cellium, I feel like they'll just complement each other a lot. Whereas Slasher, I feel like that's more of a slower AR duo, if that makes sense a little bit. Now, I know Cellium's a little... Okay, the thing about Cellium is he plays his live a little bit too much for my liking, and Slasher, I feel like it's just too slow. Maybe like a Clayster here would be really nice, right? I didn't add Clayster to the list, however, I probably should have, because Clayster's pretty gross. Okay. That is my pick for Faze. All right, let's not beat around the bush here. I went with the rumored roster, Dashie, Drazah, Envoy, and Shotzzy for Optic Texas. Now, the reason I did this was, one, because Drazah is all but confirmed, obviously. I mean, you guys heard the recording. He's all but confirmed. And Envoy, honestly, you could replace him with Pred. I just like Envoy over Pred a little bit more for this roster, because I believe Envoy could complement Shotzzy more than a Pred would. However, Pred on this roster would get a lot more kills. Let's be real here. But I don't know too much about this. I mean, who else could they add? I don't like Octane on this roster. I know people are saying Octane. I don't like Octane on this roster because Dashy and Octane just don't work for me, too slow. I will say, if they can't get, like, if they could get maybe a CleanX, I think that would do wonders. If they buy out CleanX, I think he is so underrated. I feel like people don't gas him enough. I think CleanX would be just really gross. I don't know. I'm a big CleanX guy. I really am. I think you'd, obviously, if they could get a Scrappy, oh my God. But let's just say that they can't. Probably too expensive, so let's go with CleanX here. Actually, yeah, we'll go with CleanX. We'll go with CleanX. A little underrated. I did the other team for the memes a little bit, but whatever. We'll throw in Shotzzy, CleanX, Dashie, Drazah. If you do think of this team, it's pretty gross. It's kind of a God Squad, man. If you really do think about it, that's probably a God Squad. Now we have 2 teams down. We have Faze, we have Optic. What other 2 teams could possibly be under a God Squad name? Now, I will say, I don't know, when Scump said 3-4 teams, we're going to take the 3rd, 4th team is going to be New York, because they're not, they're not scary on paper. They won a world championship. They won a world championship. Enough said. That's a God Squad. So we got 3 teams that are absolutely ridiculous. Now, out of the leftovers that I haven't picked so far, what team would be able to make a God Squad out of the leftovers? Okay, guys, I know. I wanted to make this exercise fun for me, and I wanted to just throw this out there. LEG signs Envoy and Pred as their SMG duo to go along with the Pope, iLLeY, and Arcitys. Now, the reason why this team is iffy is because Arcitys, right? Like, we don't know what he is. So, for the sake of the video free agents, we could switch out Arcitys for Clayster. But let's just say, since iLLeY's rumored to go to this LEG roster, let's just say Envoy reunites with Arcitys. They bring back the Huntsman old days. Hey, yo, shout out to the, yo, yes, sir. Okay. But, and Pred on these, like, let's be real here. These roles fit. They just fit. They're all their natural roles. Pred is an absolute Slayer superstar. Envoy does all the dirty work, hits the routes, hits the flank, gets the spawns. Those would complement each other. Like, people were saying Pred or Envoy for Optic. What if Pred and Envoy? You know, like that duo would be pretty nasty. And you know, iLLeY's got that fire in him. He's gonna be grinding. Let's just say a healthy iLLeY, by the way. I just think iLLeY would be, he's a superstar player that's been a little bit underrated, but kind of rightfully so, because he's kind of played a little worse. Let's be honest here. And Arcitys, of course, he's been playing pretty rough, but I mean, 2-time world champion. I mean, that just doesn't go away. But yeah, okay, I just wanted to have fun with the last roster. I'm gonna keep it 100, and I also didn't want to involve anyone else that I added to other teams. But those 4, I mean, would you consider this a God Squad? Okay, maybe the Arcitys. Fine. You know what? Let's make this a little fair, a little more fair, for the sake of argument that that we have to stick to the free agents and the superstar completely God Squad narrative. Octane on this roster. Octane, Envoy, Pred, iLLeY. Is that not gross? Is that not? Yo. Come on. All right, bro. Yo, let me know what roster you would build from all the free agents. Let me know what roster you like the best that I made. I know the CleanX to Optic one was kind of out of nowhere, but I honestly just wanted to make Pred and Envoy the duo ship because I just think they would be a really good duo. I love Shotzzy, but Envoy and Pred together, I think would just be ridiculous. Okay. Anyways, with that being said, hope you guys did enjoy the video. It was a little different. It was a little exercise. I apologize if you are watching this on Spotify, or I mean, if you are hearing this on Spotify, because all my videos go live on Spotify as well, and Apple Podcasts as well. And just because, in case you don't have time to watch the video, in case you want to hear just COD talk while you're at work, or while you're busy, you're doing stuff, and you want to hear in the background, whatever. I also offer it like as an audio source. If you guys are interested in it, go ahead and check it out. And also leave a rating if you guys are listening. Whatever, do all your thing. Like, comment, subscribe if you guys are watching on YouTube. With that being said, it's been your boy Zuki, and I'll see you on the next one. But yo, that's crazy, bro. Let me know your opinion on the Dashy thing too, because that is ridiculous. With that being said, it's been your boy Zuki again, and I'm out. Peace.